Welcome to Hotline TV, everybody. I'm John Mercurio.
And I'm Amy Walter. Well, John, healthcare reform seems to be sucking all of the oxygen out of the room, not just with policy, but with politics.
Politics.
Can you believe that?
Interesting
Politics.
how they sound a lot alike. Or that always seems to happen when the word abortion comes up in any piece of legislation, Amy Walter, as you know. And that seems to have happened with this amendment to the House bill passed on Saturday night. We're talking, of course, about the Stupak-Pitts amendment. And what it did was it restricted federal funding for abortion. You saw a significant number of liberal pro-abortion rights Democrats oppose the amendment, support the overall bill, though, and then come out 24 or 48 hours later furious about that amendment, saying that they're going to get to it in the conference committee, trying to get the Senate to strip that legislation or that language from the bill. What happens next?
I think when you have the president coming out and basically saying we don't want this to be a fight over abortion,
right,
that is good news for abortion rights supporters. I think the other bit of good news, if you're an abortion rights supporter, is the fact that you also have a powerful ally in the Senate, right, who are going to go to the mat there, and you need 60 votes to theoretically, in the Senate version. Now, conference is a whole different story.
Right.
But I think fundamentally, look, liberals recognized, and I think Pelosi should get a lot of credit for this, that they needed to be able to hold their tongue for the short term in order to get the results in the long term.
I guess so,
you
but
don't believe that?
I don't disagree with that. I just think that liberals in the House really undercut the argument by then going ahead and voting for the bill. I know it was strategic. I know they were trying to get the bill out of the House so that they could advance this and fight over the issue in conference. But the issue doesn't go away. The fight doesn't go away. If they strip the language out of the conference committee, you're going to have your Stupaks and your conservative blue dogs who are going to vote against the bill when it comes in for a conference report, when the conference report comes back from the Senate. So I don't think that the fight in any way has been advanced, because I think ultimately you're going to have the House dealing with the same issue a couple of months from now.
And before we move on, one final note. This again distracts Democrats from trying to explain the bigger, more underlying problem, which is cost containment. And that's the problem.
And that's the problem. But also, you know, the Obama interview with ABC was interesting because he did say this is a health care bill, not an abortion rights bill or an abortion bill. And abortion rights supporters are taking that as a good sign from him. But you also, if you read the rest of what he said, it was a very Obama-esque, on one hand, on the other hand, on one hand, on the other hand.
He's willing to compromise on just about everything. All right, now we're going to look to how healthcare could play out over recess. Obviously, John, we know it didn't work out so well during that whole August town hall thing.
That's correct.
The good news is there aren't a whole lot of town halls during the holidays, right? I mean,
hopeful.
It's a lot colder.
That's true.
So you don't want to do these big outdoor venues.
People don't get as heated, if you will,
right,
in December as they do in August.
Temperatures down. All right. Really and truly, can Harry Reid let this go until January?
He doesn't want to, and that's why he's coming out and already saying last night on the Senate floor that he wants to have a bill out by early next week, late this week or early next week. He should have the CBO numbers by then. He should be able to come out with a bill, because you don't want, at the very least, you want to at least have a bill with specifics so that everybody can't sort of pretend that they know what the criticisms will be. No, he can't have it sit out there until January. You really, really, I think in the Senate right now want to have this bill on the president's desk by Christmas.
And I think what's going to be very important, this always happens after recess, the reassessment by many members of Congress. They spend time about their own reelection prospects. They go home, they spend time with constituents, they spend time with the family. This is the time when we look for people to say, I don't know if I'm going to be running again. Do they want to get
exactly
right? They may not want to run again, especially if the feedback they're getting is so negative.
Right.
All right.
Whether it's whether it's sessions or recess, several senators are playing pivotal roles in this process. Let's talk about them really quickly. A few senators who you got to be watching. I mean, too many. There's 100 senators, Amy Walter, and I don't have time. I think there currently are 100 senators. I don't have time to look at all of them, to watch all of them the way that they're fighting over this healthcare debate. Who are the ones you think are important to keep an eye on?
All right, Harry Reid obviously has
correct.
a lot working. There's a lot going on for him in this bill, not the least of which is his own
Re-election
re-election that he
campaign.
has to worry about. Remember, he's also a pro-life senator, so
Right.
dealing with this issue has been is going to be very interesting for him. Who else are you looking at?
Well, I'm looking at a couple. I'm looking at Joe Lieberman, obviously a very discontented, disenchanted Democrat, independent Democrat, said that he will not send this bill to the floor if it has a public option. You thought that the debate had moved beyond the public option, but still a lot of Democrats or a lot of moderates are still opposed to it. People like Ben Nelson, people like Mary Landrieu and Blanche Lincoln, also still very focused on the government-funded plan.
Well,
So
and
I
Olympia
think-
Snow.
And Olympia Snow, who said that she won't support the public option as it exists right now in the Senate bill, but would support a trigger. So my prediction, if you were to ask me, is that Democrats are going to start moving back towards the trigger. That's where you get people like Ben Nelson on board, people who want to support a health care bill. You've
That's
got
right.
100 senators, frankly, on a bipartisan level, who want to support some sort of health care reform. Everyone recognizes the issue. It's the specifics, and I think if you move it towards the center, you really help pick up a lot of votes.
All right, now our last word.
Oh,
Will this thing
yes,
ever make it
yes,
to the president's desk?
yes. The answer is yes.
The answer
I
is
believe
yes?
when you say, and I like the way that you worded that question, because will this thing, and whatever that thing is, will make it to the president's desk. The president will sign a healthcare reform bill. They will call it a comprehensive healthcare reform bill. I don't know exactly what the provisions will be, but I think Chuck Schumer said to the New York Daily News a couple days ago that every member of the Democratic caucus, conservative or liberal, recognizes that the party needs to pass a bill. On a political level, that is imperative. And I think, frankly, at the end of the day, they're able to get those votes.
I agree, and I also think that's why they're bringing Bill Clinton up today to do the example of, you know what, you think that voting against it's going to help you? Not so much. Remember
Right.
how many people lost in 1994 who came out against various Clinton
Exactly.
proposals? Number two, look what happened to us when we didn't pass something. It would be disastrous for you guys not to pass it. So I do think ultimately this does get to the president's desk. It does get signed. Whether it is an actual asset for Democrats in the election,
Right.
still to be determined.
Also-
I tend to think it probably ends up being more neutral. And I thought as an election issue, and finally,
Yeah.
I thought the Gallup poll today had some very dangerous numbers for Democrats, where now more people think that their members should vote against it than for it.
But I think you're right. I think the healthcare bill is passed, and then they move on, as Obama wants to do, to the economy. The
Right.
2010 election is going to be 99% about how people feel about their jobs, how people feel about the overall national economy. I think healthcare is a secondary issue at most. And I think Bill Clinton goes up there today to make one last point, to talk to very specific people. He's talking to Ben Nelson, with whom he served as governor of Arkansas while Nelson was governor of Nebraska. He's talking to his two home state senators. He's talking to Mary Landrieu, and he's talking to Joe Lieberman. And those are the sort of, I think, targeted, focused audience. And with that, until next time, we'll see you on Hotline TV.
See you later.